Thank you. Thank you very much. So, hello everyone. Today we've got Danny here, and we're going to be working on a small project. I wasn't expecting to go live immediately, so let me see if I can put a title on this video.
Yeah, and you gotta, I guess, share your screen, or I don't know how
I
we're
think
gonna do
it's
this.
sharing just my main camera, so
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
all I
sharing
see.
anything yet. But hello everyone. Let's
I'm
have
in
a
your
look at
chat too. What's going on, everybody?
Now, let me know if you guys can hear Danny. What should I call
I
this
wonder.
stream?
Yeah, they can, I think.
I'm just thinking of a good name for this one. Learn HTML CSS. No, let me think.
Yeah, we were setting up his stream when it went live, so fun times.
That's how it is. Perfect. So, live coding with Danny using HTML, CSS, and JS is the title. Now, I don't have a thumbnail for that, but that should be okay. What's your background college there, Adrian? That is, I did computer forensics and wireless technologies, which was very interesting, and I never used those again. Now, let's see what else I can do here. I think I can start sharing out some of my content here. So I'm going to pull over the live chat and pop it out so you guys can see it while I'm responding to it. So let's share my screen here. First time doing this, so hopefully you guys can be a little bit patient while I figure it all out. Here we go. Looks good. Great, so we'll start off with that. My favorite programming language, that would most likely be JavaScript, I think, yeah. Computer forensics, it's a field that it requires you to have a lot of skill, but there's not many jobs in there, so that's why I don't really do that as much. Great. Any future... Oh, let's have a look at the next comment here. Sorry, Danny, I'm just going to be responding to a few comments here. It's the first time streaming, so I'm guessing a lot of people have a lot of questions.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to take 5 minutes. Let me go get some breakfast for my kid real fast, and then I'll be back.
All right, let's open up VS Code here. So we just have something happening in the background. And let's pull this across here, and I'll start answering some of these questions. I'm losing. Where's the chat? Here's the chat. Let's move that across here. Open VS Code. Move that back. All right, let's have a look here. Yes, this is one of my first live streams. I just thought I'd do something, but I didn't realize it would go live immediately. Hey, Adrian, your content quality is so nice. I watch your videos every week. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I have a question. Does gaming take your interest off coding a bit? I do play a few different things. I like Valorant, StarCraft. I'm looking forward to Cyberpunk. That sounds really cool. Otherwise, usually it's only when everyone's asleep and I've got a bit of time, but I do like to invest that time into researching a new video and things like that. Let's have a look here. Hi, Norman. How you going? Future of videos with Angular and Vue. Well, I haven't learned Angular properly. I've used it once or twice for projects, but it's one of those libraries that I think you need to invest a lot of time to do a good tutorial. So until I actually learn it properly, I probably won't do any tutorials just yet. I do want to do a little bit more on React Native because I think there's a lot of potential there for application development. Let's have a look here. I'm learning JavaScript, understanding everything, but when I try to build projects, I'm stuck. Yeah, building JavaScript projects requires a lot of problem solving. One of the things I would recommend there is to get a linter like ESLint, and that'll sort of capture any problems before you build it, and that way you can be kind of sure that it will build properly. Hey there, Commerce from Nigeria. Hi, learning from India. Hello. Oh, hey, I know you, Arian. Hey, I love your content. I play Fortnite. Ooh, I haven't played Fortnite myself. I'm not sure if I should try that out one day. Do you have any Polish roots, maybe? Yes, my folks are Polish, so I'm probably sure you guys have picked that up. My last name is cottage cheese in Polish, and I'm not sure if that's cool or not, but that's what it is. Let's see. Sup. Hi, Adrian. I've moved over to React.js. I know HTML, CSS, and JS. I'm 15 years old. Please wish me luck. Good luck. That's already way better than I did, because I only learned those things when I was about 20, 25. So you're already about 10 years ahead of me. Which projects are you going to build? So I've got this project with Danny today we're going to look at, which sort of tells you how much water you should drink depending on a number of different factors. So we're going to check that out and we're going to style it. I think Danny's going to start it off by doing some of the HTML and JavaScript, and then I'll do some of the CSS and make it look good. So Fortnite is pretty fun. Keep your time limited. It's easy to get stuck playing for hours. I can definitely agree there. Australia won, but we Indians will get you in the second match. Yes, the cricket. Watching from Uganda. I love your content. Thank you very much. Hi from Morocco. Wow, we've got places from all over the world tuning in. That's really cool. React or Vue? Personally, I like React, but then I haven't looked at Vue properly, so it's one of those things on my to-do list. I want to check out Svelte as well. So there's quite a few different libraries, but I think I'll eventually get to them all. I'm just focusing a lot on this course I'm currently writing, which is Enhance UI. Let's have a look. Hello, having trouble on how to start backend development. Any advice? So backend development can be very similar to front-end development depending on what language you're using. If you're using JavaScript, which is one I would recommend, jumping into Node.js is probably one of the easiest things you can do. And you can start building out like APIs and connecting to the databases on there. There's a few good courses on FreeCodeCamp, which I would recommend checking out, especially if you want to learn a bit of backend there. Hi, I'm from Argentina. Hello, Marcos. Are you going to use a framework or vanilla? So for this project today with Danny, we're just going to use vanilla JavaScript and vanilla HTML. No extra frameworks or libraries, just nice and simple so that anyone can get started.
All right, I'm back.
Wow.
My kid is fed, so let's
great.
Do this.
That is great. Thanks, Danny. So if you guys want, I'm going to link Danny's stream when it's up and running, and you guys can have a look on there as well. We'll both be working on this at the same time. So Danny, if you can give me a link to that, I'd love to check that out as well.
Well, I was going to say, so I just sent you in our private chat here the link to the live share. So whatever I'm doing, they'll be able to see on their screen as well. So that's beautiful. I don't want your viewers jumping to mine right away, but I won't be mad either. But anyway, what I'm saying is they can at least know what we're doing both sides.
Definitely, that sounds good. So I'm just pulling this up now.
Yeah, and I'm about to go live on mine right now. You got a little head start on the going live part, and I'm going to tweet this out too.
Beautiful.
All right.
Oh, that's a good idea actually to tweet it out. So let me do that.
Yeah. Da-da-da-da. I'm excited about this. This is fun.
This is great. I like this.
Well, because the other thing too that a lot of people don't know is Adrian is a good buddy of mine. I've been talking to Adrian for a long time, and so this is the first face-to-face video call thing that we've ever really done. We always just talk in text. So this is really cool that we bring everything together. Or like the other way we talk is I send you a video clip or you send me a video clip and then we put it in our video.
So true, so true. And if you guys check out Danny's stream, you'll see that I'm also on a different camera angle. I'm not sure if that matters, but it's just a different point of view for you guys.
All right. What's going on? Ariane, I just messaged you as for the courses. I just messaged you, I think, on Twitter. Check that out. Or I message. I'll link with you, though. I'll link with you. I was sending messages right before the stream. What's going on? Shake. Hey, Danny. Hello. What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Thank you for showing up. This is so much fun. All right. So, what are we doing today? The thought process, and let me share my screen so everybody sees what's going on here. So, the thought process I had today. Can your viewers hear me, by the way, Adrian? I think so, right?
Yes, I've put you on.
Okay.
I'll double check with them now. Can you guys hear Danny?
Just want to make sure before I start going into this whole thing. Let's go.
Eating popcorn.
Yes. Okay, cool. Everybody hears. Great. All right. So, the thought process with this today was I was answering a question on a live stream where we were talking about algorithm questions. And so we were on Code Wars. And so as I was answering this question, the question is, Nathan loves cycling because Nathan knows it's important to stay hydrated. He drinks half a liter of water per hour of exercise, right? So you get the time given in hours. You need to return that number in liters, but you need to round to the smallest value. So this is obviously a very simple algorithm question in the grand scheme of things. And as we were answering it, I realized, well, we don't need to stop at the algorithm. Let's go ahead and make a whole application based on this algorithm. Because I kind of want to show that no matter your level, no matter what the inspiration, we can develop something out of anything. We just need that spark of an idea, right? So I was talking with Adrian about this earlier, and he's like, let's make a calculator. This is like, let's do this, man. So what we're doing with Adrian, and by the way, if you're not subscribed to Adrian, you must live under a rock. Go fix that right away. Or if you're not following him on Twitter, highly recommend you go do that right now. But if you, what we're going to do here is I'm going to do the HTML and I'm going to do the JavaScript. He's going to do the CSS. And together we're going to be able to make a phenomenal application, I think. And I'm really interested to see how we collaborate on the idea, how we get this together. So we don't really have like a fixed design set up yet, but I think we have like a rough roadmap that we think we're going to go off of. And I think that should work. All right, we are live. My voice is echoing a bit. Hold on. Let's try this. Let me know if my voice is still echoing, but I'm going to continue for now. All right. So I think I just explained what we're doing. And Adrian, are you in the live share?
I believe I'm loading the file tree. It's still stuck on that screen. I'm just seeing if I can do it in any other way. There's an online version of this, so I'm trying to pull that in actually now.
Well, let me create a file and see if you see that. Oh, well, it said you were in there and then you left.
Yeah, that's the one that was loading that didn't load.
Okay.
But I'm opening up in the browser now, so we'll give that a shot.
So, just to let everybody know, stream code pairing. Yes, thank you. I think that's going to be awesome too. One thing that I want to do with this is we're not going to do anything like too high level. We are, of course, going to do the JavaScript and break down how we come up with the answer to this algorithm and how we solve this. But I want to keep this very beginner friendly because the goal with this is to spark curiosity, to spark the ability. Because the one thing I get from beginners all the time, like I get this question like 20 times a week. Oh, I don't know what to build. There's nothing to build. I don't know what to build. And I'm like, man, there's building ideas all around you. You see this microphone? Build a website for a microphone. Build a website for your headphones. Build a website for the computer that you're using. You know, there's so many ways to do this. So I really think this will be cool. So Adrian, are you able to see everything now?
Yes, I'm in there. It's an empty folder, so we're starting from scratch.
Right.
But
perfect.
Let's pull this over here so that you guys can see that too.
So the first thing that I'm going to do, and we're going to obviously go over a few little tips and tricks that I use in VS Code. So hopefully that'll help you elevate your VS Code level. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to save this file. And this obviously is an empty folder. There's nothing in there. The only thing I did was name this folder hydration. So we're going to name this index.html. And now we're in an HTML file. And your name is there, so I know you see everything, right?
Yes, let me have a look. Yep, I can see that.
Perfect. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hit an exclamation point and enter, and it gives us all this boilerplate text automatically. And just because we're going to go over, like, keeping this very beginner focus, I'm going to kind of go over everything as I do this. So you're probably wondering, for the most part, like, what is the title on the HTML document? Well, if I open a website link, right, you see this tab at the very top. The tab is where your title goes. So whatever information you want to display there, you can display it. And so in this instance, I'm going to put the title as Hydration Calculator. And this basically lets the user know what page we're on, what we're doing there, and things like that. All right. There's so many websites out there. Just copy one and put your own spin. Yep, I agree. Hello, it's cool to see both of you guys together. I agree. This is the dream. So the first thing that we're going to do, and this is the rough idea, and I'm going to let Adrian really explore CSS with this. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and start this off with a div. And one of the cool things with obviously VS Code is we have Emmet. So we have all these shortcuts that will make our life a lot easier. And so if we want to do a class, we can use a period. If we want to do an ID, we can use a hash symbol. But we can write div dot, and then we'll write container, and we press tab, and VS Code automatically converts that into div class equals container, and then gives me the closing brackets. Now we have our container. This is where we're going to keep the calculator portion of this whole program. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to do an H1, and we'll go ahead and write out what this is. This is the hydration calculator. All right. Now I think that's pretty self-explanatory. This is going to be basically the title on top of the calculator, so everybody knows what they're using. And we're going to go ahead and write out what this question says. And it's I drink half a liter of water per hour of exercise. And now, just from that, we can go ahead and now, if we go to our extension store, we go here and we search live server, just in case you don't have it. We're going to look for the one with the purple/pink icons. And when you do that, right, you can right click on your HTML page and open with live server. What this essentially does is it creates this temporary server where it sends all your code to, and you can see every single change in real time. So if we edit something on the page, we can see it instantly. So right now we have our H1 and we have our P element. So now, just look and make sure I don't see. It's the dream. 2 devs to see live coding together. Love it. All right. And so now, once we do that, we can come back here, and we're going to need an input, and we're also going to need an area where the text is hidden at the moment, but once the answer is given, it will appear. So how are we going to do that? Well, the first thing we can do is, I closed this div, didn't I? And that's a mistake. So let's go here, create some space, and we're going to create a new div, and we're going to do, we'll do div.calculate. We press that, and then inside here, we're going to do a label, and the label is going to be 4, and it's going to be 4 hours, and we're going to enter the hours. And we're going to have an input, and the input type is going to be a number. We need a numeric value only. We're going to have the value as a placeholder being 0, and the ID for this is going to be time. That way we can kind of manipulate that later. And then we're going to have a button, and the button ID is going to be calculate. And the title, the text for this will be calculate. And we're going to go outside of that. We'll do a P element, and inside the P element, we'll do the ID for the answer. And the amount of liters are. And then we're going to do a span here. And the span is going to have the ID of correct answer. And so what we're doing here with this span, we want to manipulate this value. And so we want that to be separate from the answer, but we want to include it inside of the answer. The goal with this is going to be through JavaScript. We're going to add a style of none. And once we have a value, then we can change that styling to be visible, and then we will alter that. So once we save that and we come back to here, we now see that we have our hydration calculator heading, we have the text, we have our label, we have the input, and we have the button. And the last thing that we have is the amount of liters are 0. So now the HTML portion is done. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to Control N. We're going to create a new file. I'll create the dummy file for style.css that Adrian will be using. And we're going to create another file, and we're going to save that. And it's going to be the app.js file. And I'm going to link both of these. So the key thing here, most common error that I see with beginners is they forget to connect the style sheet and they forget to connect the JavaScript. And like, I'm making all these edits and it's not communicating. Well, you have to make the connection. And the cool thing, again, with VS Code is I can go up here above the title and type link, and then you see the one for CSS, and automatically it provides my style sheet, and the href is the name of your file. You can name it whatever you want, but here I always name it style.css, and that's there. And then I want to go under the body tag, right? I wrote all this text outside the body tags. Wow. We were about to have all kinds of errors live. All right. So I want to do a script source, and the app.js is the name of the file. So once I save both of those, now all three files are communicating with each other effectively. All right. So that's saved. I'm going to go ahead and format this so that way it looks good and we look proper and professional and like I get paid to do this for a living. And now I'm coming to the app.js. So we don't need a ton of JavaScript. So the first thing that we need to do is actually figure out what the formula is for what we're doing. But actually, one step before that, we need to hide this. So basically what I'm saying is on the page load, I want that text to automatically be hidden, right? Let's make sure I'm not missing any. We have a lot of comments. I missed a lot of comments. Oh,
yeah, I've got
we explain on tooling like Parcel. Want to be famous and buy followers? I absolutely want to be famous and buy followers. That's what I've been missing this whole time. Mahesh, Danny, appreciate your efforts. Thank you. Class can be used on multiple elements. ID should be unique. Absolutely agree. Hi, guys. Thanks for the live stream. Thank you for coming. Thank you for hanging out with us. All right. And also, ID has higher importance in CSS specificity. All right. I should try and speak English like it's my first language. Okay. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to hide that text that is not shown. So we're going to go here and we're going to go to document.getElementById, and we're going to look at, it is called the answer. So we're going to do the answer, and we're going to do style.display equals none. So that now effectively hides everything. So once I save that, I come back here. That text that was underneath this button is now gone. Just that one line. And the cool thing with that is as soon as we have the value, we can alter that style. So that's a cool little trick that you can do. And it really does make your life significantly easier when it comes to hiding text.
Danny, quick one. Press Control+ to zoom in on your window there because the text is a little bit small for people. So if you do that a couple of times, just maybe one or two more times, that'll be great. Because some people watch this on like 360 or 420p and it's hard to see. So that's way better there.
Okay. And I'll close this, so give me some more space. Cool. All right. So now we're going to get the calculation. So we need to create a variable that will react and get the information from this ID on that button. So when the button is pressed, we need something to happen. So we're going to do a variable and we're going to call it let calculate. The reason why we're using let is we want to be able to change this in the future just in case. So we don't want this to be a constant value. So we're going to use document dot query selector. And the query that we're searching for is the ID of calculate. And this basically means this ID here, calculate, we want to get that value in the variable of calculate. All right. And so now we're going to go ahead and do calculate, add event listener. Now, why are we adding an event listener? I don't want anything to occur until this button is pressed. If I don't add an event listener and I just list out the algorithm, the time that the page loads, all of this JavaScript is going to take place, and that is the opposite of what I want. I want it to hold off and hold itself until the value is entered in the input field. So by adding an event listener, we want to add an event there, and the event will be the clicking of that button. So we'll put it in quotation marks and right click, comma, and then we're going to write a function. The function only takes place once the button is pressed. So we were going to use our curly brackets inside that parentheses, make the distinction clear. And we're going to have a const. The const is going to be the leader. So we know as a const, this value will never change. We don't want it to change. And that value is 0.5. So back to the original question. If every hour of exercise you drink half a liter of water, right? Half a liter of water per hour of exercise. We need half a liter of water for every hour, right? So if it's 3 hours, we need 1.5 liters of water. But the caveat is we need to round to the nearest number. We need to round down. So round down to the nearest number. So if it's 1.5, the actuality of the answer should be 1. If it is 3.5, the answer should be 3. So how do we do this? What is a way to do this? Well, we can come up with the answer here, and let's go ahead and make a variable called answer. And so we now know that we need, for every hour, we need to drink half a liter of water. So hour times, 0.5. But we also know we need to round that down. So how do we round it down? What is the best way to round things down? Well, we know there are several math libraries like math.random generates a random number between 0 and 1. So it's a decimal place. So that's not going to work here. We know math.ceiling would round it up. So that's not going to work here. Math.floor would round that number down. So we need to institute math.floor. Math.floor. So how are we going to piece all this together in an efficient way? Well, one thing that we could do that would make things a lot easier for all of us is if we did, we'll take this formula, we'll do math.floor, and we'll do hour times 0.5. Now, one thing that we have to do, we have to get the time, right? So let's go ahead and create a variable here. And the variable, so like normally my normal goal is all variables should be at the top of the page so it is very easy to distinguish what they are, right? But if we put this variable for time at the top of the page, it is going to institute and get that time on the page load, which means as the page loads, it's going to run that, but a user doesn't have time to enter their value yet, so it would return a 0 or a NaN value. So we need to have that inside of our event listener. So let's go ahead and do let hour is equal to document.getElementById. And let's go back to our index.js and see. So we did label for hours and enter the hour, and the input value here is ID of time. So we're going to go ahead and get that value as time. And let me go ahead and erase this there. So we have the answer equals math.floor, the hour times 0.5. Or instead of 0.5, we can do liter since we defined that above. So now we have that. Now we need to go ahead and change our styling back. So we have document.getElementById, and we're doing this thing up at the top here. So document.getElementById, the answer. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do style.display. And so we set it to none. What can we set it to now that it is not none? Just take a second, just think for a minute, and really think through, like, okay, what could this be? It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. I just want you to give me any kind of answer. Type it in the chat for me. What do you think it could be besides what it is right now?
That's a good question, isn't it?
Let's see. Give me an answer in the chat. Anything.
What is it?
Yes.
I got
Yes.
a person saying block in mine. A second person saying block.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about. A big hand to you. I love that you just did that. Even if you were right or wrong, even if you were thinking and you didn't type anything and you're like giving a wrong answer, that's okay. That's part of the process. The reason why I ask for the wrong answer, the right answer, if your brain is working, if you're working to try and come up with something, when I give you the right answer, you're going to absorb it immediately. But if you didn't even try and think, then the answer may just go wash over you and you're on to the next line. I want you to really absorb what we're giving here. So thank you for that. All right. Hey, Hayden. Yes, Code and Odyssey block. Good job. So now that we know that it's block, we go ahead and write block here. Thank you all for participating. And then we'll do document get element by ID. And from here, we're going to go ahead and write correct answer. I love all the activity in the chat. This is phenomenal. Thank you, guys. Text content equals answer. So now we're saying, I want to get this document get element ID. I want to get the correct answer, right? And the correct answer, as we know, is the span element that we defined earlier. And we're going to take the text content, meaning we're taking the answer that we defined up here called answer, and we are wanting that to be only a text value that we can put inside the span. And so once we do that, we can go ahead and save here. We go back here. And before I run this, if you can do me a favor, we have so many people in this chat. Go ahead. It helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. Go ahead and throw a like on this video real fast. It will change all of our days. Go ahead and drop that like for me, please. All right.
I like to say, hit like and subscribe.
Yeah, that works. Definitely throw the like. We got in Adrian's channel, we got like over 100 people in there, and we only got 70 likes.
Actually,
yeah.
Okay, that's scary.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome.
Nice work.
So we're gonna enter the value of hours. Let's go ahead and enter 2 hours, and we calculate it. And the amount of liters are nan. So we have an error here somewhere. We have hour document.getElementById by ID equals time. Query selectors calculate. So let's see, we have an error somewhere. Let's figure this out. The amount of liters are nan. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You know I'm a father when I start singing album song, right?
Yeah.
Let answer equals 0.4 hour times liter. Let hour document.getElementById equals time. Calculate equals document selector calculate. Correct? That is correct. And then we have span ID equals correct answer. That is correct. We have the answer.
The hour, is that being a string or is that a number?
Well, it should be a number. I know. I should do that value.
There you go.
Let's see if that works. Yeah! There we go. We got progress.
Nice.
So if I go ahead and enter 7 hours, it's going to make the value of amount of liters 3, not 3.5, because if you remember, we're rounding down to the nearest whole number. And we are working. So all this is done. The algorithm works. The problem solving that we just came up with works. So we literally just took the problem of the algorithm, turn it into a whole application, and Adrian now is about to style the mess out of this and make this look great.
Oh, this is my turn now, is it? This is great.
This is your turn.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to probably leave the code up because I can't actually see the browser.
Yeah.
But can you open up the browser separately, or is that like half the window for the browser and half the window on the style.css page?
So you should be able to see the browser. Like, so go to your extension store, the 4 blocks on the left.
Well, you see, I'm running this in the browser, so I don't have any extensions, I don't think. But I can have a look.
Let me see yours. I don't see yours.
This is what mine looks like. So I've just pulled it across here. And if you see this, it doesn't technically, it's in the browser. It doesn't have anything besides the actual directory here.
So like, okay, so go back to that and just search live server.
Live share. Here we go. I'm guessing this is
Code Stacker, Danny. Code Stacker's in my chat. I want a fangirl, but I'm holding my cool right now. Not live share, but live server.
Live server. All right, wait up. I'm just gonna open up my own VS Code properly. It's somewhere in here. Here it is. And then I've got extensions, a live server. So I want to join, and I want to join your one, which I think there was a link somewhere.
Yes, Danny's running VS Code. I'm running VS Code. Is this VS Code? Yes, Vans, Ruhans, thanks for hanging out. Code Stacker, LOL. Code Stacker, LOL, that my joke, y'all. All right, I'm cool. I'm gonna act like I belong here. You know, I'm gonna act like I'm not a stranger to somebody famous and cool talking to me, right?
Beautiful. So
NASA's also watching you guys. You're hilarious.
Let's load this in. And then where's the stream chat? Somewhere here. There we go. So this is, again, taking ages to load. I'm not sure if this is loading properly, but it says joining collaborative session, opening a remote session. So we'll see in a second.
Yeah, if this doesn't work, yeah, there you go.
That says that's done, and then I can open this up in the browser. Ah, beautiful. Look at this. All right, so here's the browser version. Let's expand that out a little bit. Let me jump here into my OBS.
There you go.
And shrink down my little window here so that everyone can see that. Beautiful. And then finally, let's open up VS Code, which is just over here. I'll pull that up and across. And I'm not sure if you can see this, Danny, but I'm guessing you'll just have your own code editor open, so you'll just see the live changes. So here we've got...
I'll be able to see everything that you type, and I'll make sure that we're watching the changes in real time.
Beautiful. All right, so for styling, obviously, the first thing I usually like to do is a nice body tag. So I'm just going to type in body here. And I like to start off the font size at around 16 to 18 pixels. And this is just so that with most browsers, if you're not zoomed in, sometimes it's hard to read the text, especially if it's 14 pixels in size, which some people actually do set up. So in this case, I'm going to do even more. I'm going to do 24 just so that everyone on the stream can see it nicely. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit as well. The next thing I'm going to do here is have a look at some of our tags. So we've got this container tag. I'm not sure if we're utilizing this right now. I don't think we are. So if we zoom out, nothing's really happening. So we could do a width here of something like maybe, say, 480 pixels. And we'll do margin auto. So this will essentially mean that this section will get nicely centered with a maximum width of 480 pixels. And this is about the size of a mobile as well. So it'll fit in nicely there. So with that done, we can move over to styling some of the headers and content around here. Right now, we don't really have any styling on the page as well. So I'm going to add a slight background of maybe something like 202020, and that'll make it nice and dark. Actually, we're going for blue here for the theme, so maybe I'll do like a dark blue theme, and I'll hit save on that and see what that looks like. And then we'll do another container in here. We'll call this maybe like a placeholder, or let's just call this calculator. So calculator, and I'll auto-complete that. And this can be...
So,
go on.
I just want to say one thing. We have a comment in the chat, and I agree my mind was equally blown. Did he just center a div? Yes, he did.
Yes.
Yes, he
just
did.
2 lines of code. Really, it was just 1 line of code. But yes, that's the way to do it. And this is one easy way in case you need to. But at least that gets us started, right? So now we've got a nice background there, and we've got a nice box here for the hydration calculator. Now you can see I've done that in white here. And for this one, I'd say it needs a bit of padding. So I'm going to give it maybe 30 pixels of padding all around the box. And once that's saved, we can see that's applied. But this H1 element here, that's got a lot of margin here at the top. So there's too much padding at the top. It's not consistent all the way around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this H1 class, and I'm simply going to remove the margin top there. And I think that should fix that up. I'm also going to double check to see if I have any comments in my own chat, because I might be missing out on something. So let's have a look here. In my chat here, just a couple of people saying hello and stuff, advanced selectors, all good. Anyway, so we're on the H1 tag here. There's a few other things I like to do sometimes. With the font size, I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger than our regular body text. So in this case, I'm going to do 36 pixels and hit save on that. And let's wait for the styling to apply. So now it's nice and bold in there. You can see it's nice and consistent with the padding. The only other thing here is that I would probably apply a bit of margin to the top of this, because we can see that there's a little bit of margin on the left and the right when it's centered, but we're not getting any of that from the top. So we want everything to always look consistent when we're doing design. So this is one way to do it, just making sure that the margins are consistent. So now we can see we have equal margins on each side, and we can do the calculation. That's all good. Finally, with this calculator here, we want to stylize this input and this enter section a little bit better. So let's see what we can do for that. In terms of this section here, we've got this hours and this label. So I'm going to grab this class over here. And for the label, I'm going to do display block. That'll push the input and the button down. So once it's down, it's on its own line. We can actually do some styling for that input. Also for this, I'm going to set this to be a font weight of bold, just so that it stands out a little bit more. You want the user's attention to be drawn to the most important things on the page. So this is the title, and obviously the first prompt, which is the input over here. Then let's stylize this input right now, because it's kind of small, and this is the main thing that you want the user to interact with. And usually when I do design, I like to make the things that are the most important that you want people to interact with the largest. So for this input, I think, yes, we've got just this input tag here. Sometimes we can do like we can grab the actual ID to stylize it specifically, or sometimes you can just do the input tag itself. But in this case, I'm going to use the ID. We're going to give it a little bit of padding, maybe like 10 pixels. And we'll also increase the font size to say 24 pixels. That should make it a lot bigger. So let's have a look. Now it's nice and large, and we can see that that's the next thing you want to probably focus on. Just to make it a little bit more interesting, I'm going to give it a border radius of maybe say 10 pixels, a background of a slightly darker gray, so maybe something like E1, E1, E1. And I'm going to remove the entire border itself. So let's hit save on that and have a look at what that looks like. So now it's got this nice style to it. We could even increase the border radius a bit more, maybe say 34 pixels, and that'll give it a nice curve all the way around that you sometimes see with some of those, I suppose, builders that you have like tailwinds and stuff like that. Let's also add a little bit of padding here to the left and right side of it, because you can see there's padding at the top, which is about 10 pixels, but from the left it looked like it wasn't enough. So I've pushed that up from 10 pixels to 15 pixels, and that input looks pretty good now. I'm just going to give it a slight margin from the top. Say maybe 10 pixels as well, just so it's got a little bit of room there from the top of that label. And I'm going to double check my chat to see if there's any other stuff I've missed here. So let's have a look. Danny's talking. We've got some HTML and CSS stuff. The gray makes the input look like it's disabled. Yeah, that's true. It could have that effect. So there's a couple of things you could do for that, but you'll find that these days a lot more inputs just are using that gray. The other thing you could do is you could make the whole section here a darker shade, and you could make the input white, and that might go around that problem of having it look like it's disabled. So let's actually save that and give it a test to see what that looks like. There we go. So that's another version of it. Now the input is white. Probably doesn't look disabled anymore. But since it's white, it might need a bit of a border, but so far I think it stands out okay. I'm not sure if it stands out okay on the stream, but here visually it does. Then finally we can go to the button here. So I'm going to grab this button ID, and we'll give it some styling as well. So let's do that. Yes, agreed. So outline I like to do as none, because if you don't do outline, you have this weird black box going around it when you're in focus. So I'm going to select outline to none here, wait for that to reload, and we can see that's much better. We could even add a hover state to it. So let's actually do that. We'll apply hover here. And for the hover, and maybe also for the focus, we could maybe have a slightly different color. Maybe something like a, what yellow colors do we have? Light yellow? I think that's a color. So let's apply that and give it a refresh. And now you can see when you hover over it and when you're in, not when you're in focus, let me put that in. When you're in focus and when you're hovered over it, then it's got this sort of yellow color. We could even make that darker on focus, but that should be enough for now just to get us to understand we're in focus. Let's see, the next thing we want to do is create this button over here. So I'm going to grab this calculate tag. We're going to create some button styling. So the first thing I'm going to do is probably do this as a display block, or maybe display inline block. So let's hit save on that. And I'm going to put it in its own div. And this will push it to its own line because it's in the same line as the input right now. That'll mean that we can stylize it a little bit different now. So what I'm thinking is let's do border none. And then maybe we'll do a background of that dark blue that we had. And this will just be so that the theme of this design is consistent. We'll also give it a padding of 10 pixels and 15 pixels. And a color of white, and maybe also that border radius of 34 pixels. Let's see what that comes up with. There we go. So that button looks a little bit better. We'll font size it to 24 pixels and give that another refresh. All right, that's a little bit better. That font size almost feels too large, so I'm going to reduce it down to 20 pixels. And give it a margin top there of maybe 10 pixels, just so it's not too close to the input. And let's make sure we spell that correctly, so that should look a little bit better now. And finally with buttons, especially when you've got a button that you want a user to click on, something I usually like to do is give it a lot more padding from the left and the right, because you want the user to be able to click it easily. So in this case, I'm going to push this up from 15 to about 45 pixels, and that should stretch it out much bigger. And now you can see that that looks a little bit better now. And finally, we can just do some design on the container here. So maybe we'll also give it that border radius. We'll do maybe say 30 pixels here. Give that a refresh. And maybe also a box shadow. So a box shadow of 0 pixels. I always forget what the styling is on this. I think it's RGBA 0, 0, 0. So this is a black border radius of 30 pixels blur. Let's have a look at what that looks like. Oh, that's a little bit too much. I think that's the offset, not the actual shading itself. So let's try that again. There we go. So we've got that shadow there. I might actually increase that to say 45 pixels and make it a little bit lighter by 0.5 opacity. And I think that should be about it in terms of the styling. So this is pretty much ready to go. We just need to finally do this total amount. And we want this to stand out a lot. So what I'm going to do is this correct answer here. I'm going to give this div a display of block and make the font size maybe much bigger at 36 pixels and a font weight of bold. And that should be about it. So now we've got this nicely styled, and as soon as we put in a measurement, say 8 hours, we can see immediately the amount of liters you should have is 4 liters, which is quite a lot, but I think that concludes more or less the design. But if you have any questions, Danny, or in chat, let me know.
Yeah, first off, I want to say phenomenal. Second, I'm so glad seeing all the positive comments in the chat of people enjoying the explanation, loving how we pieced everything together. This is what this is all about for me. Third, I've written it in the chat, but just in case you don't see the chat or you don't see the messages, the most common question I've been getting is, where's my theme from? My theme is from the amazing, the phenomenal, the man who stands on air.
I think I lost Danny there. I'm gonna have to reconnect to the stream, but that's okay.
Like,
I'll do that now.
Separate the different things. So, like, for example, my variable with the add event listener and the event taking place, there's a very clear distinction, and I like the way that flows. So if you want to check that out, I put the link in my chat, but you can go ahead and check out. You just have to literally Google Code Stacker VS Code Theme, and it's the first thing that pops up. So make sure you get that. I highly recommend that. For those not watching Adrian's stream, can you enter a value in the hour so that people on your stream can see the styling of the results? Adrian, can you do that, please?
Sorry.
Adrian, you removed.
Yeah.
Okay.
What did you say there? Sorry, I didn't hear.
So for those not watching Adrian's stream, can you enter a value in the hours so that people can see the stream and the styling of the results? So that must be from me. Calculate the amount of liters are 1. Yeah, I got it. So we see the amount of styling. And of course, here's the other thing. You can take this code that we've just given you and you can style this up however you want in any way that makes sense. Like if you want to make something yellow, make it yellow. You want to make something green, make it green. This is something that we just literally threw together within like 30 minutes to kind of try and show you what you can do. And the biggest goal of this was to answer that question of, I don't know what to build. We literally just took a random question off of Code Wars and made a whole application out of this that now you could put on your GitHub. You can use as added practice. So you can take inspiration from anywhere. It doesn't necessarily have to be, I need to solve cancer with the next website I make, right? Like, it's just, no, you need your practice to get to those higher levels. So stop thinking that your project needs to be this huge, massive thing and you don't know where to start. Start at this little piece. Now, if you really wanted to, you could start expanding upon this instead of just solving this. What's the next problem we could solve? What different activities did you do? Did you do cycling? Did you do exercise? Did you work out at the gym? And then you could base your calculation of the amount of water based off of that. Like, there's so many ways you can go off of this now. So just wanted to really get that. How did you get the number field to increase, decrease on the hours? Well, that's just simply this here. So the input type of number will give you that. I hope that answers that question there. And so is this for beginners? Yep, this is very beginner friendly. The goal with this is, and to be honest, Adrian and I have already been talking about doing another stream where we do a very advanced project. And I think that could be cool where we add both of those elements. Right now, I'm kind of on a beginner series myself. So my goal was, especially now, like in the last month alone, I've probably gotten like 100 messages. I'm just starting to learn how to code today. Where do I start? Where do I begin? I want to create a series where it eases them in to understanding some of the higher level concepts, as opposed to jumping into a more advanced website and they don't know where to start.
No, definitely. Especially, that makes a lot of sense.
100%. And here's the other thing with that too, to be honest, the end of the year, beginning of the year, this is New Year's resolution time. This is people that are like, you know what, I never learned how to code. Today's the first time that I learned how to code, and I want to start this journey now. Where do I begin? This is the perfect time to ease them in to these harder concepts, because that's the one thing about development for me. We're a huge community. We're a community of developers supporting other developers. I see advanced developers helping beginners. I see intermediate helping beginners. This is what it's all about. So even if you're an advanced developer and you're here in the chat, for example, you can be answering questions. And I see some of people are answering questions for the beginners that don't know what's going on. This is the combination of the worlds that I love to see. You know, to have combining Adrian's chat and mine, like 150 people just hanging out, talking, and discussing ideas. That's the dream right there, right?
I love it. I think that's great. And honestly, like, a lot of these projects, if they're too advanced, even if you are advanced and you try to jump in there, it's such a mess just trying to figure out where the start is, where the stop is. Being able to have these small projects, really any big project is just a number of small projects that you're putting together. This is the sort of the building blocks that you're going to be doing anyway. So this is a great place to start.
I love these comments that I just got. Love your enthusiasm, Danny, and seeing the thought process from both you and Adrian from start to finish. You know we're blowing minds here. Look at this. Streams like this take away some of my fear of starting to code and making projects. Like, this is what this is about for me.
That's great.
It isn't about making the most complicated application in the world and trying to get a Fortune 500 to buy this thing off of a YouTube video, right? It's about how can we help people level up. It's all about the level up process. And I see one comment in your chat, learning code from mentors like you is awesome. See, that's what I'm talking about, Adrian. Great. You over here doing CSS magic, blowing minds.
Centering divs with margins. That's the good stuff.
Yeah. Hi, all, pretty cool. Thank you. So let me ask you this, like, from what we did now, or even from not what we did, do you guys have any questions? Is there something that we can help, like, alleviate the concerns of?
Yeah, same here, guys. If you do, leave them in the chat, and I'm happy to answer that as well. GitHub. If we can throw this up on GitHub so people can actually have a look at the code, I think that'd be a cool thing.
Yeah, we could do that. Matter of fact, even better than that, let's throw it up on a code pen so that way they can go ahead and manipulate it, use it. Yeah, let me go ahead. I'll do that right now.
All right, great.
There's a code pen.
We'll put that up on CodePen and link that in the description of the video, wherever that is, so you guys can check that out. And let's have a look here. What else do we have? CodePen would be awesome. How can I start? Sorry, how can a 15-year-old make money with coding? Just start. Just start coding. Having a look. There's lots of resources out there where you can do small projects. There's also freelancing gigs on lots of other websites like Fiverr as well, and that at least gets you started with learning a bit of code and doing small projects. Obviously, as you learn and do more, then you can pick up bigger projects, but it's just starting that is the first and hardest step.
Just to like kind of piggyback off of that, it's so true, because even for me, you know, I'm going to remove that screen just so I can have Adrian be a little bit bigger and we can see that gorgeous monitor on my screen. Wow. Like, you're trying to have me have an argument with my wife, man, because I really want to buy that G9 so bad. But I've been holding myself because I know the fight that's going to happen when I buy that monitor. Like, I keep weighing, like, is the argument really worth it or not? I got to figure this out. I got to figure out if it's worth it in my life. But I will say, for me, like, I've got 3 rules to become a developer fast. If you follow me, you know those 3 rules. ABL, ABB, CCC, always be learning, always be building code. Especially as a beginner, this is very crucial. Always be learning, learn through multiple methods and means, because no 2 teachers teach the same. ABB, build. In tutorials, nothing breaks, right? In real life, everything breaks. Excuse me. In real life, everything breaks, right? Like, right now we were live coding. I just had something break. But if you watch, for example, like a very high class teacher showing you a tutorial, they've already labeled out all that path. So there's no errors that you're going to face. The most common error is going to be a syntax error, right? In CCC, code. Let those fingers dance on that keyboard. There's no shortcut to success when it comes to development. The fastest way you're going to get there is by literally putting your fingers on those keys and letting them tap dance away. Just start building anything. Start with the simplest thing. If, let's say, you're in an area of tutorial purgatory where you're like, I can't build without a tutorial, cool. Follow that tutorial and then add a feature to it that's not inside the tutorial. Like, did it teach you how to make a house application? Well, add like a car garage, or add like a pool in the backyard, whatever it may be. But that little feature adding, you're going to have to learn, you're going to have to grow, and that will help you get more comfortable with starting to add more things without feeling like you need a crutch of a tutorial to take you the rest of the way. All right, we have a question here. I'll go ahead.
I've got this one here going. I'm learning to code and getting good as well, but I'm finding no projects that give me any money in freelancing or websites for people who are 18 and over. So one of the things that I would recommend, and Danny, you've probably got a bit more experience about this, is going to your local community events, things like hackathons and communities where there are other developers, and talking to them. Usually a lot of these developers, they're already in companies, they already have projects ongoing, and being able to work with them, even collaborate with them, is a good starting point as well if you haven't actually got any clients.
Yeah, here's another thing that I talk about when it comes to freelancing, right? Your whole goal doesn't have to be, I need to get like the best freelance client ever to get something. You just need to start somewhere. The very first freelance website I ever sold in my life was to a Mexican restaurant. And let me tell you exactly how that went down. I was literally eating at the restaurant, and my wife was out of town, and it was a Saturday, and she was flying back in that Sunday morning. I was like, man, this would be perfect for us to go eat at, right? So I looked up their hours. I went to the website, and I was like, man, this is rough. And mind you, at this time, I just started, I didn't even start working in development. I just started the free code camp curriculum, and I had gotten a little bit of a way there, probably had about 6 to 8 months worth of learning at that point, right? I just asked the waitress, can I speak to the manager? We start talking, and I tell him, I was like, man, this website, I can't even look at the website right now and tell you what your hours of opening are because it's not on there, right? I don't know what your menu is. So I told him how we could fix this. He calls out the owner, and I just threw out a random number. I was like, look, I could fix this in like 2 weeks. And I threw out a number. I said $1,800, right? I didn't know what to charge for a site. And really, I thought he was going to be like, $1,800, I'll give you $1,000. And to someone like me, I was like, yeah, I'm taking it. Like, I got to have that money, right? They took the $1,800. I made the website. It was phenomenal. They loved it. That was the very first client I ever had in my life. The second client I ever had in my life was a CBD store, right? It's just people in my neighborhood. It's not like I'm going to like Upwork and I'm competing against the world. It's just places that I was at or people that I knew. And like that Mexican restaurant knew the CBD store and they recommended me and I made them a website. Like that's how your business will build up. You don't have to be...
I was going to say, that's so interesting because one of the very first websites that I made was for a Japanese restaurant. And it was literally the same story. I've been going in there so many times, but I couldn't access their website on my phone. It was working for desktop, but not on my phone. And I knew the owner because I kept going in there and I'm like, your website is bugged, you know, you need to make sure that people on mobile can visit it. I'm like, I'll just do this for you. Like, I'll do this for you for cheap as like, not, you know, I don't have the skills yet to do this, but I want to give a whack at it. And I just threw out a number as well. I'm like, 2K. And he's like, yeah, okay, get it done. Wow. And this is where I'm like, all right, I'm just going to have to get a WordPress template or something because I didn't know how to code yet, but that sort of got me started. And once you do that and you start building that, you're building a portfolio, and that's a good way to be able to do it as well, I think. So I really resonated with that story.
100%. I didn't know that about you. That's phenomenal. Like I've talked about the story a couple times, but yeah, like a lot of people are like, oh, I have to have like Google as my first freelance client. That's not happening. Like you need to find, for me, I don't want to compete against the whole world when it comes to trying to get clients. So a lot of times I'll just talk to the people in your neighborhood. Now, here's the thing. I'm just talking. I'm not saying, hey, I need you to sign this contract right now. And I'm not trying to sell them. I'm just saying, hey, like you can do this. And if you don't want to use me, that's cool. Find whoever you want, but just have them do this step, this step, this step. And if it's at a cheaper price, whatever, that's fine. But I just want you as like the client to be happy as can be. Because here's the thing. Even if you go to somebody else and you get that done and they follow the steps that I gave you, you're happy, right? So even down the line, let's say a year from now, and you know somebody that needs a website, you may recommend me like, hey, I didn't use this guy, but he knows his stuff because obviously it made a better product for me. But at the same time, too, if you're in your local neighborhood, you don't want anybody being like, oh, here comes the scammy website salesman guy, right? Or here comes the lady that's always pushing me to have her make me a WordPress site. Like, no, just be people part of your community. See what happens. Make relationships, make conversation. You never know where it's going to take you. And that's how people like, for example, Adrian or Kyle Prinslow, who's a phenomenal freelancer that I love. I mean, all these people that I know in the business, that's how they get their clients. They're not over here like, knocking on doors saying, hey, you buying a website today? Like, that's not fun. And also, if you have a very good portfolio site showing off your stuff, that's a hell of a way to get a client.
I completely agree. Like, all developers, I think, should have some level of portfolio where they show off projects that they've done. And this is why building out little projects like this is so good. Even when I was hiring people a while ago, I was literally looking at the kind of projects they were building, even if they didn't have experience, because that sort of gives you an indication that people are trying to improve. People are learning, and you've got the potential to do a lot more. So even if you don't know everything, it doesn't really matter, because I know that if I take you on board, then you'll be wanting to learn that and getting it done.
Yep. I mean, it's too true. And one thing that I'll even say about that, like, if you're wanting to learn, that's fantastic. Like, that's what you're kind of supposed to be in this business, because to be a developer is literally to be on a lifelong journey of learning. It never stops. If you ever meet a developer like, oh, I know it all, like, that's a developer that's retiring. Like, there's no way you can continue after that point. Like, every single year there's a new framework that's released or a new update or something new relevant to your career that you have to know. It's not sugarcoating. It's just a factual statement. And one thing that I'll even, that I'll even say about that is, when it comes to like building these projects, if you build a website, even for a restaurant, let's say you do one for free, make it like the best website that you have the capabilities of, and then use that as your business card. Like, oh, I just made this website for this guy down the street. Check it out. It's live. You check it out on your phone. And once they're impressed with that, they're like, yeah, if he did it, surely I'll do it. Because like so I was in sales for a while, and one of like the biggest sales tips was greed. People want what other people have, but they don't know that they want it until they know that someone else has it. So when you can kind of say like, oh, that person down the street just got one, and here's the product, and the product looks good. Like, here's one thing that I try to tell people is, don't look at the website as, oh, this is what I made with my capabilities. Look at the website as, is this something that if I didn't make it, would I still be happy with this? And if the answer is yes, you just struck gold, and everybody that sees it is going to love it, and they're going to want to deal with you. But if you made something like, well, this is all I know right now, level up your skills before you start showing that to everyone, and make yourself have that kind of profound presence that you want to have in the industry.
No, that's really good points. And I've noticed another thing, and this is if you're getting started, is that there are so many people that want to sell websites that, these business owners are getting like emails constantly. But if you're local, if you're in around the area, if you talk to these businesses and you go to them, you've got a level of trust there that they know you, and they'll be more likely to listen to you if you tell them some advice on a website. So while emailing them or phone calling them might not work, I always would recommend personally talking to them, because that goes a long way to building that rapport.
Yeah. And at the same time, like, your goal shouldn't be like, hey, I'm going cold calling every single business. Just like, and what I always say is like, when you're in these conversations, have your hook. Don't just be like, hey, can I talk to the owner? Owners of businesses are like, they train their employees to keep people away. They don't want to deal with salespeople. They're busy people. But if you just go in there like, oh man, your website is rough, and like, or obviously not that exact wording, I don't want to offend anybody, but just be like, I was on your website and I was trying to do something and it's not working. Then they'll be like, oh, what did you try to do? What's not working with the website? Now you've hooked them with what's wrong with the website. And then you can say like, well, I was trying to do this, but if you fix this in your HTML code, it will allow this to happen. And they're like, oh, and be like, well, I'm a web developer and I can kind of see what you're trying to do, but I see it's not working. It's a bad implementation, and we could use XYZ steps to fix this. And now they're like really involved in the conversation. Then you could throw in like, this will probably take me like 2 weeks to fix this.
That's
and
great.
It would cost whatever.
Exactly. And then you can ask them, when was the last time you actually worked on your website? And they'll always say something like, oh, like 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah,
we probably should do something,
Yeah. Yeah. Y'all just got the script for free. Y'all gonna go out there now, become like thousandaires, okay? We ain't promising no millions over here, okay? But I'll promise you thousands, okay? You can be a thousandaire and pay a light bill or something. But well, depending on how big your house is, I don't know any light bill that's 1,000. But anyway, but that's absolutely true. That's literally the same thing that I've done all my life to get clients. But the biggest thing is, honestly, just have fun with this. Like, and the goal shouldn't be like, oh, how do I become a developer or like a freelancer? Just build and see where it takes you. Like, even for me, I worked in gas stations for over 10 years frying chicken, right? My goal when I started learning how to code wasn't like, oh, I'm going to become a developer. Like, my goal was, at that time at least, I was like, all right, I'm going to make a website. On this website, I'm going to sell a product. It's going to be the best product in the world, and I don't know what it is yet, and I don't know how I'm going to get people to that website, but I'm just going to build something. And as through that process of building things, I started learning what a div was, learning what a navbar was, how to make things responsive. And through that process, I was like, okay, now I've known enough. I can become a developer. I can do these things. And that's how I ended up breaking into the field. And that's how I've helped over 100 people land their first jobs in tech.
That's amazing. You've done it 10 times faster than me, because for me, I enjoyed doing development, and for 10 years, I just did tutorials. And I never built anything for anyone. I just kept doing tutorials in hell for 10 years. And it was until I figured out that, hey, this is something I can actually do, that I put myself out there, that I actually started working in the field. So while it's great to do tutorials, I love the way that you've just gone and done it. And I wish I had done that earlier. But that's why, I technically started this when I was 30. And I know that there are a lot of younger people than me that have started much sooner, and they've got a lot more potential than me. So it's really just putting yourself out there. It's not just doing the tutorials, but trying to jump in and going a step further, essentially.
Well, what's weird is I just talked about this in a video the other day, and I was asked like, okay, I want to become a developer and I'm nervous and I don't know what to do. And like, how do you get past that feeling of like, can I actually do this? Or if someone, like for me, when I told people that I was going to learn how to code, they're like, oh, that's not for people like us. Like, that's for the smart people. Like, you work in a gas station, focus on your lane, right? So when people are being told the same thing from like their family or friends, like, how do you get past that? And honestly, my one tip for me that worked for me the most is my self-belief and confidence in myself is a fool. Meaning, no matter what proof you bring to the table, no matter what you bring to definitively say you're not going to be able to do this, my confidence say, I don't believe that. I believe whatever I set out to do, I'm going to achieve no matter what. My belief in myself is so foolish that no matter what evidence you bring, it's going to say, no, I'm capable of this. I can do this. I can reach that esoteric point. I can reach that dream. I can reach that goal. No matter what, I can get there. So if I can get there, and I believe I can get there, now the only thing that's stopping me is making those consistent small steps to get to where I want to be. Because programming to me is about these small, consistent wins. It's not about like one big leap. Like, nobody wakes up today's like, oh, I know React, and they go to sleep and they wake up tomorrow like, oh, Angular, what's popping? Like, that doesn't happen, right? So you're going to make very consistent small steps to get to where you want to be. And those small wins, the culmination of that is going to take you where you want to go.
No, that's great. Exactly. And if you watched any of those like full stack developer roadmaps and stuff, you'll see that there is a progression. You just learn things step by step. And it's the same whether you're learning to drive a car or learning to play the piano. You don't suddenly play music. You have to learn all the keys, and you have to learn how to use one hand and two hands. And development is the same. You just learn your HTML, you learn your CSS, you put them all together, and eventually you have a cake.
Absolutely. So I do have a hard stop, and I've enjoyed this. And to be completely honest, I could probably sit here with Adrian for the next 17 hours and not be bored.
We didn't actually even get a chance to chat either, so
I know.
Straight into it.
Yeah, honestly, we didn't really plan this out too well. We just kind of just said, "Hey, you want to do this?" and we just jumped on. But I do have another live stream that I'm doing literally in 10 minutes. I have Devin Ford and Sarah Shook. We're going to be talking about their development career. Devin literally just landed his first job in tech. He literally worked as a 911 dispatcher, and I think he just worked like a 16-hour shift. And he's going to be talking about how he was able to land his very first job in tech. Sarah Shook is talking about how she used to recruit people into tech, and now she's getting into tech herself. So I think that's going to be a very good call. Also, if you have a chance, check out my video that I have, 3 JavaScript projects in less than 1 hour, and it's going to go from beginner to slightly more advanced to a little bit of advanced, taking you through the steps of the way, trying to make you feel comfortable with the process. So definitely show some love. I'd love to see you all there.
That's really good.
And
I've linked I've linked Danny's channel in the live chat on mine, so check that out. Give him a follow, give him a like, and get him trending. He's almost at 10K, so let's get him there.
Yeah, and I just linked your chat to the few followers I have. So let's get some love there too. And I have one comment here: is Adrian doing ASMR? The voice is so soft; it feels good.
I just boosted the bass on this one because I have no bass in my voice whatsoever.
Yeah, but this was very fun. Honestly, I enjoyed all of this, and I know for a fact Adrian and I will do something more advanced coming up, and I think that will be like a very good project to help you reach that next level as a developer.
Definitely. This has been really fun, so thanks for that. And
one last thing, we have over 100 people in Adrian's chat. We have so many people in mine. Throw a like on these videos. Make sure you subscribe. Or as the great Adrian once said, if you don't like the video, hit the dislike button twice.
That's a good one. Or 4 times, you know.
Yeah.
Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Well, thanks, everyone. I'll stay in the live chat for a bit longer, even though the stream will stop. So if you have any questions, jump in there. But thanks, Danny, as well. This has been great, and I'll love to do it again in the future.
Thank you, everybody, and I will see you on the next one. I'll see you in 10 minutes, actually. We got the next live stream.
Next one. All right. Good stuff. All right. See you guys.